We're starting with the first session for the day. I invite Dr. Gayatri Prabhu, faculty at MCPH, to please come on stage and carry forward the.
Good morning, everyone, and it's my pleasure to chair the first session. So our first speaker, slightly as Meera already announced, small change in your schedule. So we'll start with Dr. Nalini Joshi and a brief introduction to her. Dr. Nalini Joshi is presently associated with the Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth Pune as a visiting lecturer in Indology. She did a PhD in Prakrit. She was the assistant editor of Comprehensive and Critical Dictionary of the Prakrit language. Dr. Joshi has edited 30 books on various topics regarding Prakrit and Jainology. She has also published numerous papers under the Jaina chair. For instance, collected research papers in Prakrit and Jainology Part 1 and 2, a brief survey of Jaina, Prakrit and Sanskrit literature. She also has a number of papers in Hindi and Marathi. Dr. Joshi has been awarded the Ananda Sahitya Ratna Puraskara in 2000 for the study and propagation of ancient Jaina literature. And in 2004, she was awarded the Sahitya Ratna Puraskara by the Jain Social Group, Pune. Good morning, madam, and I welcome you to kindly address the audience.
Honorable Bhattarakji, who is still to arrive. All the dignitaries on the dais, there is no dais and there are no dignitaries sitting here. So it is not a typical Jain conference so far I have attended. So nice, and all my learned friends, scholars and students. At the very outset, I wish to congratulate all the concerned organizers of this workshop who are very much keen to give full justice to the presentations by allotting sufficient time to read out and also for the following discussions. For the last 6 months, the organizers are keeping a good rapport with us. So, I dare to share with you the background of my paper in few lines. While working in the Prakrit English Comprehensive Dictionary at Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, I met with ample references of Chanakya and his Arthashastra. I met with, in the following years, I completed a project titled Chanakya Explored in the Jain Literature. While dealing with the Jain accounts of Chanakya, it was my solemn duty to scrutinize the Brahmanic references of Chanakya also. Thus, my attention was drawn to the play Mudra Rakshas of Vishakha Datta. For the students, it is the play dedicated mainly to the accounts and a particular incidents in the life of Chandragupta Maurya and Chanakya. With the strong background of the Jain narratives, I felt it necessary to interpret Mudra Rakshas, and thus the title of my paper is Interpretation of Mudra Rakshas from the Jain Perspective. I will explain first in few lines the rationale of the topic. In the galaxy of Sanskrit dramas, the Mudra Rakshasa of Vishakha Datta is the unique political play, the only kind of that in the whole Sanskrit dramas, dedicated to the historical personalities, that is Chanakya and Chandragupta Maurya. The date of Mudra Rakshas is vastly discussed and debated by various Sanskrit scholars as well as historians around the world. The approximate date of this play can be ascertained as 7th-8th century AD. The cross-references found in the Avashyaka Churni and Nishitha Churni are full of Chanakya Chandragupta narratives and myths. This fact supports the above-mentioned inferred date of Mudra Rakshas because important Churnis are written by Jinadas Gani in the 7th century AD. The popularity of Mudra Rakshas was so widespread that at modern times many Indian authors have written the fictions dedicated to Chanakya and Chandragupta with the help of the life accounts pictured in Mudra Rakshas. When we go through the editions of the Mudra Rakshas, so far edited by the learned scholars, it is found that the esteemed scholars have mentioned the Buddhist and Jain sources about Chanakya and Chandragupta in a very brief manner in their prefaces and forewords. The Buddhist sources are discussed in a little detailed manner, but total injustice is done to the Jain sources, though they are ample in number and cover major life accounts of Chanakya and Chandragupta, that is to say, from birth to death. Therefore, at present, an attempt has been made to interpret the Mudra Rakshas from the Jain perspective. First, we will discuss some important characters in the play and how they are related with Prakrut narratives and Jain personalities. The first one is Jiva Siddhi Kshapanaka. In the plot of Mudra Rakshas, the role of Jiva Siddhi Kshapanaka carries a certain weight. The name Jiva Siddhi is a compound of two padas, Jiva and Siddhis, which connote certain philosophical background of Jainas. Jiva Siddhi means a person who is trying to attain liberation. Kshapanaka is a nude Digambar monk who has achieved a certain spiritual progress. All the Sanskrit scholars of Mudra Rakshas unanimously agree that Jiva Siddhi Kshapanaka is a Jain bhikshu. Of course, he is a spy appointed by Chanakya for getting the information from the camp of Amatya Rakshasa. Jiva Siddhi is not real Jain monk. Chanakya's friend Indu Sharma assumes a disguise of Jain monk. Chanakya is sure that a Jain monk can win trust of Amatya Rakshasa. This is the name given by Vishakha Datta, and the proper name of this Rakshasa is mentioned particularly in Jain tales, and he is certainly Subandhu, and who is totally loyal to the last Nanda king Dhanananda. Taking into consideration all these Jain connections, we come to know the propriety of the character of Jiva Siddhi Kshapanaka in the play. No other Sanskrit classical play than Mudra Rakshas possesses such a character. If we examine the dialogues of Jiva Siddhi from the language point of view, we can designate it as the specimen of Magadhi Prakrut. Every now and then the Kshapanaka says, Alahantanam Panamami, or Sasanam Alihantanam Padivajjaha Moha Vahivejjanam. Jiva Siddhi greets other many a times with a specific greeting like a Jain sadhu, Dhamma Siddhi Hodu Savaganam. Amatya Rakshas addresses Jiva Siddhi as Bhadanta or Bhante. Thus, the role played by Jiva Siddhi in the play is quite noteworthy. In the first act, Chanakya himself refers the importance of the role of Jiva Siddhi Kshapanaka. The fourth and fifth acts are full of dialogues between Rakshasa and Jiva Siddhi. Jiva Siddhi suggests a proper muhurta to Rakshasa. It is remarkable that in the early history of the Jain monastic conduct, it is depicted that Jain monks were well versed in fortune telling, of course, Swara, Lakshana, Nimitta, Shakuna, etc. We can conclude that the role of Jiva Siddhi Kshapanaka is quite eloquent to throw light on the intimacy of Jainas to the history of Chanakya and Chandragupta, and especially Amatya Rakshas, that is certainly the Jain counterpart is Subandhu. The second character is Chandana Dasa. It is not directly told in the play that whether this is the chief merchant Chandan Dasa was a Jain householder or not. In the narrative literature of Jaina, generally the merchant class and especially the Nagara Sreshtin is always depicted as a Jain person. The Jain tales have pictured vividly that Chanakya gathered ample wealth from the rich merchants of Pataliputra to fill up the treasury of Magadha. I remember a long story in Dharmopadeshamala Vivarana, in which it is described that how by which means Chanakya gathered ample wealth from the merchants of Patliputra. Actually, Chandan Das is a Manikara Sreshtin, chief of the jewelers. We find the term Manikara in the ancient Ardhamagdi text Jnata Dharmakatha. It become Manikara, from the changes it become Maniyara. Chandan Das and Amatya Rakshasa are very close friends. As Jiva Siddhi, being a Jain monk, was reliable for Amatya, likewise Chandan Das, might possibly a Jain householder, is equally reliable for him. Amatya handed over the responsibility of the protection of his family to Chandan Das. In the 5th act, the monologue of Chandan Das carries some suggestions about his being a Jain. Chandan Das speaks in Shauraseni language and uses the term Charitra Bhanga Bhiru for himself. Charitra is a peculiar Jain term connoting right conduct, one of the Jain Three Ratnas. The verse Mottuna Amisaim is in Maharashtra Prakrut and references of strict vegetarianism and particularly Mottuna Amisaim, avoiding meat, suggests that he is a faithful Jain. The third character is Sarvartha Siddhi. Amatya Rakshas is very eager to install Sarvartha Siddhi on the throne of Magad. He is a person having the lineage of Nandas. Very surprisingly, Sarvartha Siddhi is the name of is the name of a supreme heavenly abode, Anuttara Deva Viman, in the hierarchy of the Jain heavens. Secondly, Sarvartha Siddhi is the oldest famous commentary of Pujyapada, 5th century AD, on Tattvartha Sutra of Umaswati, who was the resident of Kusumapura, that is Patliputra. Amatya Rakshasa's quest for Sarvartha Siddhi is really strong Jain connection while considering the Mudra Rakshas. These are some minor characters. Now we will compare Chanakya of Mudra Rakshas in the light of Chanakya depicted in the Jain narratives. Chanakya's character. Though the names Vishnugupta and Kautilya are used at some places in the play, the name Chanakya is continued through the whole play as a speaker of his dialogues. Likewise, in the Jain literature, mostly the name Chanakya is used. In Prakrut, they say Chanakya or Chanikya, or I think Harishena in Brihad Katha say Chanakya is found, and references to the names Kautilya and Vishnugupta are very few. Now I will discuss the Brahmanatva of Chanakya. The Mudra Rakshas depicts the Brahmanatva of Chanakya by calling him Arya, Bhatta, Brahmana, Upadhyaya and Vishnugupta. Vishakadatta never uses the term or epithet which is suggestive of his being a Jain. In the Jain literature, the Shvetambaras depict him as a Shravaka. As Hemachandra tells, his father is Chani. The village where he was born was Chanaka Grama, and his father was a Brahmin, and that's what Hemachandra says. And his father was well versed in Veda Vidya Parangata. The Digambar, especially Harishena, presents Chanakya being initiated at the end and being a Jain monk, leading a group of 500 sadhus, which is glaringly an exaggeration. Chanakya stuffed Shikha, that famous Shikha of Chanakya. The point connected with the Brahmanatva of Chanakya is the reference of his long black tuft of hair. Among all the Brahmanic legends about Chanakya, the main legion of his vow to destroy the Nandas completely. It is told that at the end of the vow, he releases his long braided tuft, and when Chanakya completed his vow and consecrated Chandragupta on the throne of Magadha, he again tied his tuft. In the Mudra Rakshas, the incidents are presented in a different manner. Chanakya is not ready to tie his tuft until he manages to install Rakshasa on the seat of the chief minister, Amatya, which means he himself, of the king Chandragupta. The dreadful description of his long black tuft occurs in the first act of Mudra Rakshas. He compares his released tuft with a black, poisonous female serpent, which is suggestive of the crooked and cruel means of Chanakya to fulfill his target. The description is very nice. It is Nanda Kula Kala Bhujagim Kopanala Bahula Lola Dhumalatam Adyapi Badhyamanam Vadya Konechati Shikham Me. At the end of the play, when helpless and blackmailed Rakshas accepts the chief ministership of Chandragupta, Chanakya ties his tuft with the following remarks: Purna Pratijnena Maya Kevalam Badhyate Shikha. The Jain authors are not ready to highlight Chanakya's Brahmanatva and are interested in depicting Chanakya as a Shravaka. Therefore, the incidents of releasing and tying the tuft are absent in Jain references. In the Avashyaka Churni, the reference of the tuft is totally absent. In Parishishta Parva of Hemachandra, the verse related to Shikha is added in the footnote and not in the manuscript, in the main manuscript. Amongst all the Jain biographies have quoted one Sanskrit verse in which Chanakya's oath vow is expressed. The verse is very much important because in all the Jain literature, whether Prakrit or Sanskrit, from 3rd or 4th century onwards up to 15th century, this Sanskrit verse is common. The verse runs like this: Koshena Vrityaishcha Nibaddha Moolam Putraishcha Mitraishcha Vivruddha Chakam Utpatyanandam Parivartayami Hatadrumam Vayurivogra Vega. It starts from Avashyak Churni part first, page number 563. We have tried our best to locate this off-quoted verse in all the Brahmanic literature, that is, in Kathasarit Sagar, all the important Puranas, and the play, particularly the play Mudra Rakshas. Unfortunately, this verse is not traceable in the Brahmanic sources. Thus, the Jain reference become very much important. The next point is the strict laws of Chanakya. For maintaining the law and order situation, Chanakya and Chandragupta are very strict. Ample examples can be quoted from the play in this connection. I have given some 7 or 8 references from each act where the strict orders are mentioned, but I will omit. The discussion about, now see, the discussion about a mistake, that is aparadha, and law breaking, that is ajna bhanga, is found at length in Nishitha Churni, while prescribing the rules for monks and nuns. It is declared that law breaking is more serious than a mistake or error. A narrative of Chanakya is quoted in Nishitha Churni as an example of this rule. It is mentioned that when the particular villagers disobeyed Chanakya's order and dishonored the low birth of Chandragupta not being a Kshatriya, Chanakya taught him a lesson by setting fire to the whole village. The cruel act of Chanakya is defended by the Churnikara. A comment is made at the end that the rules laid down by the Jinas are like the strict orders of Mauryan king. They should be followed faithfully, otherwise severe punishment in the form of prayashchittas, of course, not corporeal punishment, would be given. Thus, the appreciation of the strictness of Chandragupta and Chanakya is found in Mudra Rakshas and in the same manner in Jain narratives. We can remember the famous tagline of Jainas here, Jainam Jayati Shasanam. Why the word used there is particularly Shasan. The next is the wisdom of Chanakya. Sharp intellect is the prominent feature of Chanakya. All the shades of buddhi, that is, intelligence, wisdom, power of reasoning, etc., are present in Chanakya. In a true sense, he is a genius. In Mudra Rakshas, it seems that Chanakya is very much aware about the type of intelligence he possesses. He enters in the first scene with this verse, Kautilyaha kutilamatihi saeshayena krodhagna prasabham adahi nandavanshaha. Actually, it is Mudra Rakshas who popularized the phrase Kautilyaha kutilamatihi. Jainas do not repeat the phrase Kautilyaha kutilamati anywhere. In the 25th verse of the first act, Chanakya says, Buddhistu ma gan mamo. Let everything else leave me except my intelligence. According to the Jain epistemology, intelligence is fourfold. Autpattiki is inborn. Vainayiki is the knowledge which we get through the instruction by Guru Seva. Karmaja is the acquired skill, and Parinamiki is the wisdom which one gets through the lifelong experiences. The Avashyaka Churni depicts various incidents in the life of Chanakya as the examples of the Parinamiki Buddhi of Kautilya. A bit underestimation is seen in the Avashyak Churni. Haribhadra, the literary maestro of the 8th century, depicts Chanakya as a possessor of threefold intellect, Autpattiki, Vainayiki and Parinamiki. Though the Jainas have had high regards for Chanakya, according to them, the epitome of intelligence is the only Abhay Kumara, of course, the prominent personality in the Jain history. Chanakya in the Mudra Rakshas is Kutilamati and an adept in all crooked ways. In fact, Chanakya and Rakshas, that is Subandhu, are both intelligent conspirators, but Chanakya is always one step ahead. Both of them respect each other. In short, we can say that Chanakya in Mudra Rakshas is extremely sharp, scheming, crooked, confident, and to a certain extent arrogant also. The next point is Chanakya's address to Chandragupta. In the whole drama, Chanakya addresses Chandragupta as Vrishala. All the scholars have interpreted it as an epithet showing the lower caste of Chandragupta. From the Jain perspective of Chanakya, it is shocking and almost impossible that every now and then he refers the low birth of Chandragupta. The Jain references are mostly found in the form of narration, giving very little scope for the dialogue, but still the epithets used for Chandragupta by Chanakya are Vatsa and Raj.